So look, thanks again to both Simon and Katie. We're going to wrap up today's session by answering your questions. On first glance, there seems to be a lot for you there, Simon, so you're in the hot seat there. So let's start at the top. So when working with an internal comms team, how can we ensure that sustainability messaging gets the priority it deserves? Simon, you mentioned about working closely with your comms teams. This might be a good one for you.
Yeah, I think from our point of view, I think there's a real strong recognition that sustainability is a good news story. There's lots of stories that we can share, and they tend to be of interest when they go on the portal, whether they go out in newsletters and links to articles and these sorts of things. So what we've done is develop the relationship so that, because I think internal comms know they can come to us with for stories, or alternatively, most weeks probably we can give 2 stories to the internal comms team, and they will probably share them both, because again, they're looking for news. You can really help them out by sharing those good stories, good news stories to them. So again, I think just realize that, you know, you're a real benefit to them. There's lots of things that you're doing that can be shared. There's lots of, you know, human interest stories. You know, if you read the local press, lots of human interest stories. So there's a great way of illustrating, actually, you know, sort of showcasing some of the staff and what they're doing, whether that's, you know, developing case studies that can be talked about. But ultimately, what you're trying to do is to kind of work with your internal comms team to develop that culture change. We meet with our internal comms team once a month, and there's also kind of a wider comms group across the university that we present to. And I would say really that the sustainability team is the team that provides them with the most content over the whole year. So I think don't underestimate what you can deliver to them, how you can get them to back you, and the more they realize that you're of use to them, the more they'll champion you. So the one thing that we've been able to do is, I think, through our visibility of sustainability, and again through, I think, the good work that we've done across the university, our marketing directorate has just sort of said, actually, how do we really showcase this more? How do we communicate this more within the student and staff community, but also outside? So again, the more you can develop that visibility through your internal comms team, the more that you'll get the backing that you need. And I think from our point of view, it's kind of an interesting one, because our director of marketing, she's really, you know, she's recognized the value that sustainability brings. And that's meant that she's a real champion in some of those strategic meetings that I'm not invited to, because she's saying, you know, we've got to really deliver sustainability in everything we do. We're keen to promote what we're doing as well. So yeah, you are a valuable tool within their toolbox, I think.
Yeah, that's great. It's really great to hear that you've got such a good kind of relationship with them. And to be honest, when I'm having my discovery calls, the earlier that they introduce the comms manager, the better they seem to be, because they are really intimately linked. So fab, thanks for that. Yuda, where is the best place for an organization to make a start in engaging people? What should we prioritize? So yeah, good question. I think a good start is just to make sure that you have a real clear strategy and vision in place that you understand, and it's closely aligned to, you know, your wider mission and your strategy, and, you know, making sure there is leadership buy-in, and their support is visible, and we can help you with, you know, building that business case, helping it resonate with your leadership teams too. So yeah, that's a good place to start. And then from Tally, Simon, how are you finding using the Oracle platform for staff, and what do you feel is the effectiveness of it?
So we are launching it actually in 2 weeks, or a week and a half's time. So we'll know then. We're testing it at the moment, and everybody's coming back and saying, actually, yeah, this is really useful, because what we find in any organization is that everybody's got a preconceived understanding of what sustainability is, and it's just about recycling or switching off your lights. We've got to help people understand that this is far bigger and far more relevant to people. So that's what we're using this system for. So what we're doing on the platform is kind of taking people through a journey, helping people understand that, okay, sustainability is important to the university. It's it should be important to everybody in terms of people's values. We identify really what people can do. We've developed a load of videos that people can watch. There's a little test at the end to make sure they complete that. And what we're able then to do is to identify really what more they can do in terms of, are they academics? Okay, if they are, and they're teaching, then we can take them on the next level that's specific to our academic staff. If they relate to professional staff or managers, so we can then take them down that route. So the way that we're looking at that platform is very much kind of, again, taking people to that starting point that everybody's at, and then we can move them forward. So I think from our point of view, and it's been a really good relationship with IBM, and we've connected up Jump to it, because Jump's an opportunity for us to again signpost, to engage people in a different way. So I think from our point of view, we're hoping that it will be really powerful, you know, and we'll constantly kind of refine it going forward. So yeah, I'm happy to share how that develops over time. So yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for that, Tally, and I hope that's helped. Cheers, Simon. And then how do you see your partnership with Jump's products continue adding value to the sustainable lifestyle change and mindset staff and students? What are the foreseeable challenges in the university space, do you think?
That's to me, is it?
Mm-hmm. Got them all.
Yeah. So I think in terms of lifestyle, again, I think within the platform, what it does is identify really what people can do, simple things, you know, 5-minute showers, you know, walk rather than drive, you know, these sorts of things, that helps people understand a bit more about what they're doing. And ultimately, I think this is, you know, again, looking at the streaks and these sorts of things within the platform. What we want to do is to develop those habit forms rather than this just a one-off to get those points. What we want to do is to maintain those activities so people do this as a, you know, as a normal thing, you know, the day-to-day thing. So that's ultimately what we want to do. How we do that is going to be quite tailored. And again, we're working with Jump to think, actually, how do we really focus this on our halls? How do we make it, you know, kind of a grouping a bit more specific in terms of the actions? You know, how maybe do we reward them particularly for their work? So, and this is very much about how people talk about what they're doing, how people share about what they're doing, and making sure that it's possible. Because again, I think, you know, sustainability to a lot of people is, yeah, sounds a bit too complicated. But again, whether you use the platform or just have other ways of communicating simple steps to do sustainable things, then we can kind of slowly get there. And it does take time. And if you're in the university, you know that kind of every 3 years, you've got a completely new student population. So you've got to constantly think, how do we bring those new people in? How do we bring those new students in? And often what we do is at the beginning of term, just to make sure that people understand that our culture is actually being responsible. You know, our way of enabling you to share that culture is to, for example, to go to the Team Jump platform, have a look at what you can do there, what you can learn, how you can make it a bit more relevant to you, and hopefully take that forward. And bear in mind that we're still here. The sustainability team hasn't just disappeared because we've got Team Jump. We're still there to develop other activities that really reinforce those messages and actions. So you've got to kind of combine a number of things together, but ultimately, again, you know, we would love all of our students to be completely, you know, as sustainable maybe as I'd like them to be, or I am. We know that's not always going to be the case, but we know we've got to find ways that at least we can reach out to everybody, and they, you know, they will come into the system how they would like to, and get as involved as much as they like to, or they've got the time for. But ultimately, again, if we can kind of like reinforce the messaging, reward them, then hopefully we can kind of like bring more people in on this.
Thank you. I'll just answer one of Felicity's quickly here. Give you a little breather. So you ask Felicity, the activity feed in the Jump platform, is there an integration with other social media platforms built into broaden reach and keep bringing people back to the platform? Yes, we can now integrate with Teams, so there can be a Teams channel for you. We could also integrate with things like Slack and Yammer, and also offer single sign-on as well. So make it as easy and visible as possible for your people. So yeah, we can certainly do that. And then a couple of questions here which are kind of a similar ilk. So Felicity and Michelle, you've asked about kind of comms. How do you manage comms fatigue to ensure you maintain engagement, and what strategies are you exploring for increasing the level of sign up and engagement with it over time? Simon, kind of for you as well, and Katie, you might, if you want to add anything from your experience with that.
Yeah, I'll just jump on the comms fatigue particularly. Yeah, we're kind of aware of it. You know, we know particularly our academics aren't that great at, you know, reading emails and these sorts of things, but we try and ask them how they want to be communicated to, and often they say actually it's by you know, via emails. But what we're trying to do is say, well, actually there's lots and lots of ways of engaging we've got our internal comms, we've got our website, we've got social media, we've got Team Jump, we've got lots and lots of things that we can do. But ultimately, we want to connect everything up. So the strategies and how we develop our strategic sustainability action plan is probably the way of doing that, really, so that the expectation is that all academics will be teaching sustainability. That kind of is going to be kind of a requirement. So we can support that, and that will then hopefully lead to further engagement. And that would, again, help signpost to Team Jump and other activities that we do. So I think from that kind of comms fatigue is that if we can hopefully avoid that by just integrating sustainability into our day-to-day work. So we're not communicating it anymore, we're just doing it. And I think that's something that we need to think about. I think probably the key comms fatigue issue relates to students, because I think that they're just bombarded with information, and they're probably more likely to get more social media apps than delete them. So they've got more and more noise that we've got to cut through. I think that's the biggest challenge, and again, that's why we're looking to develop a program that really looks at our halls. Think actually, how do we kind of maybe make this a bit more visible? And again, we often get lots of sign-ups if we talk to our academic. We do guest lectures. We ask students to sign up to the platform, or through Green Week, or through certain activities where we can talk to people and say, look, there's a system here that can help you. And sometimes you've got to just talk people through what things are, because they haven't got the time to say, actually, yeah, what's this all about? Or just download an app and then play with it. Sometimes you've got to talk them through it. So I think that comms fatigue is there, but we've got to think actually, sometimes, there's certain groups that it really hits. And I think our student population is one of those.
Cool. Thank you very much. Okay, we've got 2 minutes left. Katie, I've seen you've answered a question from Amanda, so that's great. That's in the chat box. But Katie, is there a way of verifying users' actions within the Jump platform? Like, how do you know the actions that claimed are actually being done?
Yeah. So within the actions, so activities there are different types of activities, and activities can also have limits. So that if we're thinking, oh, actually it's more likely that that's a one-off activity or a once-a-week activity, then we can set that as a limit. In terms of the verifying, with some of the actions we have an approval process, and also the activity feed is a way of kind of approval. So if they're actually being asked to submit a photo, then there's an element of them needing to submit a photo of what they've actually done. And then with some of the activities, we have an approval process where we check them. We don't do this for all of the activities, and there is an element of trust within the platform. But we can also see that through the points that are accumulated, and with our 10 years of running platforms of these programs with this method, we haven't found it to be a problem, and we recognize that actually most people are coming to this because they want to engage and improve themselves and make that behavior change, and through that there's that trust, and so kind of a mixture of a few things.
Cool. All right then, guys. Well, it's 11 o'clock, so I don't want to keep anyone longer than that. If there's any questions that we haven't answered, we'll make sure we do. So sorry, really, really sorry if we haven't got to you. If you've made this far and you haven't had open up a conversation with us here, then please do reach out and submit a contact form through our website. I'm just leaving my kind of contact details here for you. Would love to speak to you. If you are keen to. So we'll also be following up today's session with a short survey. Would appreciate your honest feedback, as it will help us to make sure that any future sessions we run are relevant to you, our community. And thanks, Simon. Thanks so much. You've been absolutely great. Loved hearing from you, and Katie as well. And a huge thanks to you guys and all the other people at Jump who make all this possible. So take care, and hopefully speak to you soon.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye.